Hey guys, King of Charmander's here. Alright, so the mid-season 6 move updates are now live. And now we finally got all the data, so I can finally break everyone down. I'm still gonna do a breakdown of some Pokemon and how it really doesn't affect anything, just so that you guys have a hint of like how much something really needs to get like nerfed for it to really matter. You know what I mean? Anyways, so as you see here, they also jacked up a ton of things. It's funny because Primeape in the short window could learn Weather Ball. I tried to get one on mine, but I didn't get it. I actually got like Ice Punch, so I stopped trying to get it. And it looks like Niantic's really like going hard. If you look at their support Twitter, they're actually going pretty dang ham on trying to fix their mistakes. So it's not really a surprise, to be honest. Like how, you know, every time they do something and update something, they have to screw something up. This one's a big mistake, though. This one's really big, though, because I'm going to do a video on it. If Primeape still has Weather Ball, this could potentially be a really busted mod. I highly doubt that's going to happen because the scale... This is the second time this happened. So, the first time they did it was from G-Liloon. If you don't remember... I mean, yeah, G-Liloon, if you don't remember that. Long time ago, G-Liloon actually got to a point to where, like, you could accidentally evolve it during a certain period of time, and I think during that spotlight window, you could actually get Grass Knot and Thunder, which are the regular Liloon's movesets, and Shadow Claw. So it was really busted and really broke, so they kind of switched it around. And they ended up doing something to where like, oh, sorry, we jacked up, and they gave people Stardust back, but not a lot of Stardust. So to this day, those people probably still haven't been compensated, and some very rare individuals actually still have that Legacy G-Liloon. So as we go up here, as you see, they really jacked up everything. The move updates, don't forget to follow the Pokeminers, by the way. Here is their Twitter, make sure you guys follow them, and they do some amazing information. Quick rundown. Okay, here's all the tier 6. Alright, so I'm gonna go over everything in one second. Alright, so here we have these first 4. I'm gonna go split this into 2 parts. There's 8 attacks that basically got modified. I'm gonna go through the first 4 first. So, as you see, Ember went from 6 to 7. I'm gonna tell you right now, a lot of these moves, they really didn't change anything. This literally only affected all of these moves by like the 1 HP in a dream scenario. So Ember going from 6 to 7, that really doesn't do anything for the move. It does very little, actually. I'm gonna look more into it, but the video I made about Ember, where it would have been in a like something where you could like farm something down and then throw energy at the next, that might still be possible, but I'm not sure if it's like IV dependent, because 1 damage isn't super... It's not super major. Modifying things by 1 damage, you have to go really into like what your IVs are, and like break or bulk points. So I'm gonna look deeper into Ember and see if it really changed anything for like particular mods. And then I'm gonna do content on that. So for each of the moves, if I find something interesting, that's what I'm gonna focus on for this week. Is basically what would this have changed anything, or this actually changed anything? For Ember, not so much. Unfortunately, all the fire Pokemon still got shafted. Ember being a 2-turn move with 7 damage, that essentially makes it on par with Counter without the energy. There's issues with that for several reasons, just because the thing about it's 1 damage, 2 damage would have been really big. 1 isn't that major. Like I said, it's like it basically makes Ember a counter clone with not really a counter clone, but counter damage with 1 less energy. That's basically it, which can still be really, really good. So like I said, I'll have to look really deep into it, but 1 damage isn't too major. So that's Ember. Luckily, it's still something really good. So then hopefully, like I said, hopefully I'll go look more deeper into it, and I'll make content regarding Ember for certain Pokemon. Next, we have Karate Chop. So for Karate Chop, it went from 7 to 8 energy. This is what I was afraid of, because 7 to 8 energy really doesn't better. So 7 to 8 energy basically makes Karate Chop a Powder Snow clone, in a sense. So, well, minus the damage. So the thing about Karate Chop is that with the 8 energy on Machamp, sadly, its counter's still better overall. With 8 energy is cool and all, however, you'll still reach the same with only... It would have been huge if it was like a Psycho Cut clone. So it went from 7 to 9. But the thing about going 7 to 8, if you run the mirror match and you do the mirror match with Machamp versus Machamp, you actually will see that it's pretty much exactly the same thing. Or actually, the counter one will win just because it does more damage. Because it takes the same amount of Karate Chops to get to a... Well, actually, if you do the math, let's see, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 40. It would take one, no, it would take one less. So, I would have to run that. Yeah, I would have to run that later, but I'll run the mirror and I'll look at how Karate Chop actually affects it. So, it lets you get to Cross Chop faster. Well, the second one faster. So, the first one's going to be the same, second one will be different. And then subsequently it should be after that. So that one energy like actually matters. So it would matter more. Is it worth getting rid of counter? I wouldn't say it's worth getting rid of counter, just because counter's damage, the 2 damage that you get more from counter matters in the long run, especially when the thing about counter is you're doing counter damage, or you're doing fast move damage is why counter, and you're getting energy. That's why the whole basis. I mean, it's still interesting, but like I'll have to look into like Machamp and see if it's really like super, because you won't get to your second move. Your first move you'll get there at the same time. The second move it'll be different. So depending on what you face on that time, there's just way too many things that can happen. But it's good. So Karate Chop, it's still good. It's still good. 7 to 8's pretty good. 7 to 9 would have been pretty busted, but like 7 to 8's good. Now we're going for the debuff for Bubble. Damage went from 8 to 7. I actually played it quite a bit today. Quite a bit. And I really didn't feel affected. Oz is still top tier. Super top tier. And then it's just, yeah, still super top tier. And to put it simple, like I mentioned on my other video about Bubble, the energy is what matters the most. If they change the energy, that's what I've been huge. The damage didn't really nerf much. Like, 1 damage is very meager. Very meager. Now we go to Razor Leaf. The one thing you all wanted, including me, to see that's debuffed. Sadly, it's not. So, Razor Leaf going from 11 to 10, basically, that doesn't really matter. So, with Razor Leaf still at 10, you can still shred through a lot of things in the 2 shield. It would need to have been, like, 11 to, like, 8. From 11 to 8. So, something like 3 points would matter, not 1 point. You see the difference here? If something's changed by 1 or 2 points, that point of damage for fast move doesn't really affect much. It probably affects the 1 HP in a dream scenario, but you don't want to be 1 HP in a dream versus Shadow Victory Bell or Shadow Razor Leaf users in general. So Razor Leaf going down 1 is not really that, but it's not what we wanted. That's all I have to say. Not what you wanted to see. Alright, so we got Crab Hammer was 75, now 85. So, Crab Hammer isn't really a great move in general. Well, it's not that it's not a great move, it's just the Pokemon that behind it aren't very powerful. So unless Crab Hammer is given to something really good, Crab Hammer can kind of just sit there. Yeah. Kind of just, yeah. It's okay. It's like, this is good, but it's just, yeah. I think Kingler, Crawdon, a few other things have Crab Hammer, but unless there's a really broken mom that gets it, then you're not gonna see it anytime soon. Sky Attack going from 80 to 75, this isn't a bad buff. That's actually not that bad. So, Ancient Power went from 70 to 4, I think Ancient Power when it got debuffed was like a lot of points. So, by 5 isn't super major. In fact, you could argue that there was no this wasn't really needed at all. I mean, it still affects a lot of scenarios. Like, for example, if you have a Skarmory versus a G-Fisk, then the Sky Attack damage being less actually matters a lot more. So in a lot of hardball scenarios or 1 HP in a Dream scenarios, Sky Attack being debuffed matters a lot by just 5 points. That's where 5 points can stop because it's going to add up. Because Sky Attack normally doesn't KO a lot of things unless they're weak to it, and 5 points down might actually allow said things to live at full HP. Or, like I said, if it's the G-Fisk, the hardball scenario, then it just really depends. Rock Slide going from 80 to 75 is the same thing as well. It's not really that bad. So if you use Rock Slide, then like I mentioned, in a 1 HP Dream scenario, it's still going to do a ton of damage. 5 points of damage isn't too major. It might affect like some ranges, like your range, like your kill range for a certain charge move. If you're used to seeing that kill range, just look it down by like just a tiny bit, and that's your kill range. So 5 points isn't that bad for Rock Slide at all, too. So it looks to see Sky Attack and Rock Slide both share the same debuff by 5 points. You'll still see these as super meta. The meta that has these, it's very unlargely changed. Certain matchups will work more. Certain matchups will obviously like be a little more difficult versus the other. For example, if they do resist Rock Slide, or if you're using it for neutral damage, it might that's when it might matter. But like more of that in a 1 HP in a Dream scenario. So I wouldn't worry. Like it's not that bad. If you're concerned, I would run the sim and figure it out, because that's what I'm gonna do for a lot of these, especially for content. For my future videos, that way you guys can figure out and be like, okay, so yeah, it would, yeah, so that's basically what it goes by. And it's the same thing with Shadowbone, because Shadowbone this makes no sense to me. Shadowbone getting debuffed makes 0 sense to me, because the 5 points of damage, yes, in certain scenarios that does matter, but that's, like I said, that's only the 1 HP in a Dream matchup. Shadowbone was only recently added to Alolan Marowak, and the fact that it's literally been debuffed already, I guess someone at Niantic really doesn't like getting Shadowboned. No, literally someone. I think someone, this is like my funny little thing about Niantic, I think someone plays the game, and whatever kicks their butt the most, then they will nerf it. Like, it's just a funny, but yeah, that's just what it is. Shadowbone should have never been nerfed, in my opinion, in the first place. This barely affects it. It will only affect your 1 HP in a Dream scenario, like I mentioned. So, not too much changes. As you see here, the last 4, Sky Attack, Rock Slide, Shadowbone, not too much, but it will affect, like, close scenarios. So, close scenarios, yes, and certain scenarios where you get walled. For example, if you try to Shadowbone you're not going to Shadowbone a Vigoroth anyways, but if it happens, you're going to notice it's going to be a lot less than you thought it would be. And that's all the news. Unfortunately, the good thing is we got Weather Ball Ninetales, you have Weather Ball Politoed, you also have Ice Punch Primarip, so basically all the like new moves for each mon. I'll do an analysis for each and every mon as well for this one, but generally it hasn't changed much, guys. Like, it's like these attack debuffs like just are really painful, because I expected more. 10-point drops would have been huge. More than 1 energy would have been huge. Instead, it was just kind of like, oh, okay, you know what? Shadow Razor Leaf, yay, we're gonna debuff you by 1, and you're still gonna be able to shred through steel types in the 2 shield. That's how dumb it is. So, unfortunately, not many changes thanks to these move updates. Like I said, they're very specific. That's why I'm going to look them up, and I'll make content for each one. First, I'm going to focus on the new moves for each and every mon, and just see how they measure up against the meta. Primeape is especially interesting, and I'm going to make that video about Primeape I'll release that video about Primeape tomorrow, so that you guys can see just how Weather Ball Primeape with Water actually would run through a lot of meta picks. Because with Weather Ball Water, you could actually probably take out things like Alolan Marowak, etc. So, again, more to come on that. But other than that, the move update is a really big disappointment. It shows that it's really lazy. It's like you asked around a table, and if you asked like, okay, 5 is okay, and yeah, that's basically how they put it out there. Unfortunately, unless it's like that's what it is. There was no major modifications, so the Pokemon, the good news is the mons you love using are still very effective. So don't start transferring your Azus or start transferring your Skarmories, because they're still top tier. If you guys like this video, please like and subscribe, and good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I'll see you guys on the next video.